Hi Year 3, hope you're all okay. Today is Monday the 29th of June and I have just seen Mrs Wilson's art challenge and it's really inspired me. So I'm getting creative. See if you can work out what I'm going to make. Right, hopefully you've been able to spot I created myself a fox. So Mrs Wilson's challenge was to write a piece of poetry and combine it with some artwork because we're going to create a poetry tree outside of the school to share. So I thought for our writing lesson this week I would share with you a type of poem that you may want to have a go at writing. Now, I've done some paper folding, so this is called origami. Lots of you might know that I love origami. So it's a Japanese paper folding exercise. So I thought today I would show you and teach you how to write a piece of Japanese poetry. It's called a tanka. Let's have a go together. Off we go. Right then, Year 3. Our learning objective today is to use exciting language to write a tanka poem. Now, a tanka poem is actually one of the oldest forms of poetry of Japan. There are some rules to it. It's quite similar to a haiku, which you might have heard of and seen before, because that was one of your challenges. So there are some rules. With our tanka, it has 5 lines, and each line has a certain amount of syllables. It goes 5, 7, 5, 7, 7. So our whole poem has 31 syllables altogether. You might be thinking, why do we write poetry? Well, we're going to use our exciting language because we're going to build a picture in our reader's head so that they can imagine and feel how we feel about the topic we're writing about. Now, traditionally, tankas are written about nature, love, or the seasons. So you need to think about what topic you want to write about. It might be that you choose to write a tanka about the Bronze or the Iron Age to show your fantastic knowledge. It might be you want to write it about lockdown and how that's been for you. You might want to write it about your feelings towards school and coming back and the excitement of seeing your friends. It's up to you what you choose your topic to be for your poem this week. I want you to be creative and think of something that you really want to write about. So I'm going to have a think. I've got my French fox here. I'm going to think about what I could write about because I'm going to be writing my poem on the back of this, ready to hang up in the poetry tree. Okay, I've decided today that I'm going to write my poem about a forest. There's several reasons I've chosen a forest. One is because it can be a habitat for a fox. 2 is because during lockdown it was a place that I really enjoyed walking through. I found it really relaxing and a great time to spend walking with my dog. And number 3, I knew that forests from my research were really important, especially to the Stone Age people, where they went hunting, they went gathering for wild berries until more traditional methods of farming came along. So that's why I've decided to write my poem today about a forest. Wonder what you've decided to write yours about. Okay, so the first part is we need to plan, because if you just asked me to go and write a poem, I couldn't do it. I need to plan the language that I'm going to choose. So I'm going to have a look at my picture carefully as my inspiration, and I'm going to see what nouns I can spot, and I'm going to think about my adjectives that I can use to describe them, and possibly add a verb and an adverb to give extra information about what my noun is doing and how they're doing it. Now, my learning objective said that I needed some exciting language, so I'm going to use some different skills today. I might try some alliteration. That's where 2 words or 3 words all have the same starting letter. I might try and include a simile, where I make a comparison with like or as. These are skills we've looked at before. Or a fantastic skill which I love to see in poetry is something called personification. That's where we describe an object that isn't a human as if it is a human and has human qualities. So, see if you can spot some in my phrases in a minute. Okay, so I've had my turn and I've thought about the language that I can use. Let's see if we can spot the skills that I've used in my work. So, this isn't my poem so far, it's just my plan. So I've put here, leaves wave. I've got fun flowers skip together. Majestic trees stand like soldiers. Can you see where the alliteration is? That's right. Fun flowers. They both begin with the letter F. What skill have I used here? Majestic trees stand like soldiers. That's called a simile. It's where I compared my trees to being like soldiers. I've used the word like to make my comparison. I've also used some personification. Can you see it? Which object is doing something that doesn't really do it, but a human would do? That's right. Flowers skip. A human can skip. Flowers don't, but we can describe to say that they are because it looks like they're moving, especially in the wind in a forest. Also, leaves wave. The leaves don't really wave to each other, but again, as they blow in the breeze, it looks like they're waving. I'd like you now, as part of your plan, to decide on what you're going to write about and write some phrases around the outside. Think about what you can see, what you can hear, and maybe what you can smell as well. Off you go, your turn. How did you get on? Right, there's the next step now. Remember I told you about the rules of the Tanka? There are 31 syllables in our poem altogether, but each line has a certain amount of syllables. It goes 5, 7, 5, 7, 7, with our total of 5 lines. Now you might have remembered our haikus. They're just a 5, 7, 5 poem with 3 lines, so we're extending it more to make a Tanka today. So I'm going to look at my phrases that I've written so far, and I'm going to work out if I can use them successfully in my poem. So I'm going to start thinking about syllables. Now, often we clap our syllables, but if we struggle with that, we can use our hand flat under our chin. And you'll notice that when my chin moves down, that's when I'm saying a new syllable. So let's do this one together. Leaves, wave. Are you ready? Leaves, wave. Leaves, leaves. It has 1 syllable. So I'll put a little 1 underneath to remind myself it has 1 syllable. Let's do wave. We can clap this one if we like. Wave. Let's try it under our chin. Wave. My chin goes down only once, so again it has 1 syllable. It's really important if you try it with your hand and your chin that you speak really clearly and you move your mouth when you're speaking. Now, leaves, wave as a phrase together has 2 syllables. I would like my first line to have 5 syllables, so I need to think about how I can extend this. Now, I haven't described the leaves, so I could add an adjective, and I haven't said how they wave, so I could extend that as well. I can imagine when I've been walking through the forest, it's been quite windy, and they wave all together, and they look really happy when they're doing it. So I'm going to go for leaves wave joyfully. Now, if these are 2 syllables, how many syllables do I want joyfully to be if it's going to work? That's right, 3. 2 add 3 makes 5. So I'm going to check it. I'm going to get my hand and my chin. Joyfully. It has 3 syllables. I'm going to write it down here. Okay, let's have a look at our next one. This one down here. I'm going to clap my syllables. I can check it with my chin and my hand if I need to, but let's count and have a look. Fun, flowers, skip together. Fun, flowers, skip together. How many syllables? 7. Perfect. In that case, I'm going to give that one a tick and put 7 by it. So I know I can then use that as part of my final poem because each line needs either 5 or 7 syllables. So that one's good. Let's have a look at the next one. It might be that I need to change something. Majestic trees stand like soldiers. Majestic trees stand like soldiers. Majestic trees stand like soldiers. Ooh, how many syllables? 8. Okay, so let me have a think then. I need to change it and I need to get rid of one of the syllables. So, majestic, that has 3. Trees, 1. Stand, 1. Like, 1. Soldiers, 2. I'll be honest, I like my simile, standing like soldiers. I think it's a really good comparison of how a tree stands still. So I might have to change my word majestic. So if this has 3 syllables, I'm going to have to choose a word, an adjective, which only has 2 syllables. I still want it to be exciting. I don't want it to be a boring word. Okay, I want to make my reader have a picture in their mind. So I'm going to think carefully. Towering, because it's tall. Towering. That's 3 syllables as well. That won't work. Can you ever think of a word? It's good to ask a buddy sometimes. What do you think? Pause the video and have a think, maybe write some words down just to help me for a minute. What words did you come up with for our trees? I came up with striking. I actually looked for a synonym of majestic, something that's striking, captures us and think, wow, when we see it. So I'm going to change the word majestic and I'm going to put the word striking. And I'm going to put the fact that it's got 2 syllables. I'm going to check it. Striking, striking. So, altogether, my phrase at the moment, my line that I'm going to use in my poem has 7 syllables, so I'm going to give it a tick, and I know that I can use this in my final poem. Now, so far, I've worked and I've got 3 lines, a 7, a 7 and a 5. I know that I'm going to need another 7 and a 5 line as well. So I'm going to work on those. I'm going to ask you to work on yours before we write our poems all together. Off you go. I've finished my plan. I'm now going to start putting my poem all together, ready to write on the back of my fox, ready for the poetry tree. So I've written down the side just to remind myself 5, 7, 5, 7, 7 as my rules as for my Tanka poem, and my poem's going to need a title. So I'm going to think I've got the forest and I've got 2 foxes. I've had a go at making another one, so I've got my fox's forest. So it's going to belong to them. So first of all, I'm going to write foxes. There are 2, it's plural. So I'm going to write the word fox. I know it's got more than 1 fox, so my rule is it ends in an X. I'm going to add ES, and the forest is going to belong to them. So I'm going to put an apostrophe after my S because it's plural. Foxes, forest. Okay, so I'm going to start using my plan to write my poem. I'm going to set you off on yours now. Right then, for you to be successful with your poetry today, you need to remember that it's going to have 31 syllables altogether. It's going to be over 5 lines, and you're going to follow the structure of 5, 7, 5, 7, 7 on each line. Can you include exciting adjectives? Think about the structure. Adjective, noun, verb, adverb. So I might say green, leaves, jump, happily, but then I'd need to check it to make sure that I've got the right syllables. Okay, if you're Chilly 1 today, I'd like you to challenge yourself to include some alliteration in your Tanka poem. That means you've got the same starting letter. This is my example, lush leaves, they both begin with the L. If you're Chilly 2 today, I'd like to see you with some personification, so where you describe something which is not real and not alive as if it was a human. So something that might wave, skip, dance. Those are some ideas for you. I'm sure you can come up with lots of your own. If you're Chilly 3 today, I want you to try and challenge yourself to include a simile using a like. So in my example, I said it was like a soldier, or as something as tall as delicate as. You can again be creative and come up with your own similes. Those are your challenges. I'm going to go and finish mine. I'll share it with you afterwards. See you in a few minutes. Okay, I finished mine. I had some trouble on the last line. I had to show a growth mindset, some extra hard thinking to make sure that it had 7 syllables. I was stuck on 6 syllables for quite a while, so I decided to add an adjective to describe my eyes. This is my poem. When you finish writing yours, it's important that you read it through. It'd be a great opportunity to practice your performance poetry, reading aloud and asking maybe someone to film you, and you can send it to us at Year 3. We'd love to see them. This is mine. I'm really proud of it and I'd love to share it with you. Fox's forest. I stroll happily. Striking trees stand like soldiers. Leaves wave joyfully. Fun flowers skip together. My bright eyes smile as I walk. So to complete my lesson today, I'm going to write it on the back of my fox here, and I'm going to make sure that I drop it in at the school office so that it can then be put up on a poetry tree outside the front of the school. It's really important that if you write it on a piece of artwork that you've done, it doesn't have to be origami like me, that if you drop it in, it needs to be suitable so it can be laminated, so that if it's raining, which it has been for the last few days, then it can stay in the tree nicely, okay? I'm sure Mrs. Wilson will be so pleased to see so many poems, especially if we can have a go at our Tanka poem, and you can also be creative with your artwork. We look forward to seeing what you're going to come up with. Speak to you soon. Bye.